So we've talked about shrinking Loki a lot on this channel, and spoilers for Elbaf, but in talking about making it possible for Loki to exist on the Sunny, we have gone over a lot of shrinking possibilities. Before I nailed down what Loki's fruit could possibly be, I was under the impression that he could have had a canonical version of the mini fruit. Now, it's still a possibility that either his fruit, which is the dragon fruit mythical model Nidhogg, or Ragnar's fruit, which is some sort of Ratatoskr fruit, could have a property of shrinking. That's still on the table, and we've talked about that several times before. But another alternative is that perhaps Luffy, using the powers of the human fruit mythical model Nika, could have some shrinking capabilities that we have not seen yet, because shrinking is a part of the fruit's capabilities, as it was a weakness or drawback, I guess you could say, of Gear 3rd in the pre-time skip. So maybe he can now impose this drawback more efficiently onto a person besides himself. That's a possibility. We've talked about that. However, in the video of which that was a topic entitled Luffy Shrinks Loki, YouTube user who is a subscriber and commenter S3P8472 commented that there could be a scientific solution to shrinking Loki and suggested Lilith. And I didn't think much of it at the time, but after mulling it over quite a bit, I think this could be the case, because in One Piece, outside of Devil Fruit lore regarding the mini fruit and or Luffy's fruit, a lot of shrinking lore is attributed to Vegapunk, because the various children from Punk Hazard were taken to Egghead in order to be cured of their gigantification inflicted upon them by Caesar Clown. And we see in chapter 1061 that seems to be working, as Mocha and the others are gradually shrinking. However, what's also quite interesting now about Elbaf is that not only do we have Vegapunk Lilith here in Elbaf taking up residence, but we also have a perfect clone of Vegapunk from 20 years ago here. So we find this out in chapter 1134. So it seems to me that things are being set up for something to happen with all this. We also have that weird laboratory on Elbaf that we don't know who that belonged to. So that's another plot point. But what I'm saying is that there is a potential for a shrinking plot to occur thanks to the help of Vegapunk Lilith and a young Dr. Vegapunk potentially. Perhaps they could build a belt for Loki at the end of the arc that allows him to shrink, which is an idea suggested in the comment that I brought up. However, the reason why this is so interesting is because Loki's belt is emphasized in a very odd way, because you see, it has a Jolly Roger on its buckle. Said Jolly Roger is actually a bit of a deep cut that in hindsight doesn't make much sense, but I guess it's just an Easter egg if you're paying attention, because the belt buckle is a Jolly Roger that has a skull wearing a crown, and said crown has 3 points on it, right? However, the reason why this is oddly relevant to Loki is because in the mind's eye of Charlotte Chiffon, as Loki was first introduced to the story, he is a blob silhouette of a man wearing a crown that has 3 points on it. So it's very funny that this is something potentially that Charlotte Chiffon just made up in her head, but then becomes a canonical piece of Loki's design. So I could see this being the case, and the belt is modified to a point in which it allows him to shrink, because weirder things have happened, like the raid suits that Sanji and his family wear. But to continue on, and this could perhaps apply to Ragnar as well, if Loki is holding Ragnar as he shrinks. That's what I'm getting at. I think Lilith could possibly be a solution, seeing as how she hasn't done too much yet in Elbaf, and there's a lot of weird scientific Chekhov's guns being set up, and I think they have to be fired off somehow. So that's why I think another possibility to the whole Loki possibly joining the crew via shrinking agenda is that Vegapunk Lilith and the 20 years young Vegapunk original come together to make some sort of device, probably a belt for Loki that allows him to shrink and be the size probably of like a large human in order to fit on the Sunny. And then whatever that belt is, the effects could transfer to Ragnar if Loki is holding Ragnar as he shrinks. But with that being said, if you are liking the content so far, hit the like button. And if you want to see more from me, hit the subscribe button followed by that bell. And if you could, please hit the hype button. It really does help. But with that being said now, give me your thoughts and tell your friends about Polypede Waxy.